Fear. It's the silent thief that robs us of opportunities, courage, and the life we truly want. But what if you could take back control? Imagine transforming fear into a force that propels you forward instead of holding you back. Today, we'll uncover 5 timeless Stoic strategies that not only help you overcome fear, but also turn it into an ally for growth and resilience. These principles, inspired by the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, have guided countless individuals through uncertainty and challenge. And they can do the same for you. We'll explore practical steps like embracing the worst-case scenario, building unshakable resilience, and discovering how living with purpose diminishes fear's grip. If you've ever felt paralyzed by self-doubt, you won't want to miss this. Before we dive in, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Stoic Narratives Official for more empowering insights to help you face life's challenges with clarity and courage. Let's begin. Number 1. Embrace the worst-case scenario. Fear thrives in the shadows of uncertainty. It's the unknown that paralyzes us, magnifying every doubt until it becomes overwhelming. But the Stoics, particularly Seneca, taught us a transformative approach to handling fear. Embrace the worst-case scenario. By facing your deepest fears head-on, you strip them of their power and regain the clarity to act. At first glance, this concept might seem counterintuitive. Why would you deliberately imagine the worst that could happen? Isn't that just inviting more anxiety? In truth, it's the opposite. Fear thrives in vagueness. By clearly defining the worst-case scenario, you illuminate the shadows where fear hides. You gain perspective, seeing that even in the direst outcomes, you have the strength to survive. Let's explore how this works. Imagine you're facing a major career decision, leaving a stable job to pursue your passion. Fear begins to creep in. What if I fail? What if I can't pay my bills? What if I lose everything? These questions spiral into panic. But instead of running from them, the Stoics would encourage you to confront these fears directly. Start by asking yourself, what is the absolute worst that could happen? Be specific, write it down. Perhaps you imagine running out of savings, moving back home, or starting over from scratch. Then take it a step further. Ask yourself, could I survive this? How would I cope? In most cases, you'll find that the answer is yes. You've likely faced challenges before, and you have the resources, skills, relationships, and resilience to navigate this one as well. Consider the story of Karen, a small business owner in Seattle. Karen had a dream of starting her own bakery, but was terrified of leaving her corporate job. For years, she stayed in her comfort zone, letting fear hold her back. One day, after reading Seneca's teachings, she decided to confront her worst-case scenario. She imagined the bakery failing, losing her savings, and even taking a temporary job to rebuild. To her surprise, this exercise made her fear less overwhelming. She realized that even in failure, she could recover. Armed with this clarity, Karen took the leap, and her bakery is now a thriving community hub. This strategy doesn't eliminate fear, but it redefines your relationship with it. By embracing the worst, you shift your focus from avoidance to action. You accept that while failure is a possibility, it's not the end. This acceptance creates a sense of freedom, allowing you to act boldly without the weight of what-ifs holding you back. To apply this technique, find a quiet space where you won't be interrupted. Think of a fear that's been holding you back. Write down the worst possible outcome in vivid detail. Then, brainstorm practical steps you could take to recover if it happened. This process not only reduces the emotional intensity of your fear, but also empowers you with a sense of preparedness. For example, if you're afraid of starting a new project, imagine it failing completely. What would you do? Could you seek advice, try again, or pivot to a new opportunity? Once you see that the worst isn't as catastrophic as it feels, you'll gain the courage to move forward. This practice also reveals a hidden benefit: gratitude. When you embrace the worst-case scenario, you often realize how much you already have. You begin to appreciate the support systems, skills, and opportunities in your life. This perspective not only reduces fear, but also fosters a deeper sense of resilience and resourcefulness. Seneca captured this idea perfectly when he wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." The suffering created by fear is often far greater than the actual challenges we face. By visualizing the worst, you break fear's hold and see the situation for what it truly is, a challenge, not an insurmountable obstacle. But let's be clear, embracing the worst doesn't mean you're expecting it to happen. It's about preparation, not pessimism. It's about freeing yourself from the paralyzing grip of fear so you can act decisively. And in most cases, once you take that leap, you'll find that the worst doesn't happen at all. The next time fear arises, remember this Stoic principle. Don't let the unknown keep you frozen. Face it, define it, and embrace it. You'll discover that the clarity and courage you gain far outweigh the discomfort of confronting your fears. As Seneca reminds us, a man who fears suffering is already suffering from what he fears. Embrace the worst-case scenario. It's not about dwelling on failure. It's about discovering the strength to rise above it. With this mindset, fear becomes a tool for growth, not a barrier to success. Number 2. Focus on what you can control. When fear grips you, it often feels like the world is spinning out of control. Your mind fixates on what might go wrong, other people's opinions, unpredictable outcomes, or events beyond your influence. It's paralyzing, isn't it? But the Stoics, particularly Epictetus, offer a liberating truth. Focus only on what you can control and let go of the rest. This principle seems simple, but its power is profound. By concentrating on your own actions, thoughts, and choices, you reclaim your energy and mental clarity. You stop wasting time on the uncontrollable and start directing your efforts where they truly matter. Epictetus put it best: we cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. Imagine this. You're preparing for an important job interview. Anxiety builds as you think about the interviewer's judgment, the competition, and the countless unknowns that could derail your chances. But pause for a moment. What can you actually control here? You can't control how other candidates perform or whether the interviewer is in a good mood. But you can control your preparation, your appearance, and how you present yourself. By focusing on these, you shift from helplessness to empowerment. Let me share a story. Michael, a manager in Boston, once faced this exact challenge. His company announced a major restructuring, and he feared losing his position. For weeks, he obsessed over office politics, company rumors, and decisions from the higher-ups, things completely out of his control. But then he stumbled upon Stoic philosophy and decided to take a different approach. Michael sat down and made 2 lists, one for what he could control and one for what he couldn't. On the can't control side, he wrote things like market trends, company policies, and his coworkers' actions. On the can control side, he listed improving his skills, networking, and updating his resume. By shifting his focus, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. Instead of worrying, he took action. When the restructuring happened, Michael wasn't just prepared, he secured a promotion. This practice of distinguishing between what's within your control and what isn't is a cornerstone of Stoicism. It's a mental filter that helps you separate noise from substance. Fear often arises when we try to control the uncontrollable. But once you let go of that burden, fear loses its grip. To apply this principle in your life, start with a simple exercise. The next time you feel overwhelmed, grab a piece of paper and draw 2 columns. Label one, what I can control, and the other, what I can't control. Write down everything that's on your mind. Then, shift your focus entirely to the first column. This exercise not only clarifies your priorities, but also frees you from the mental clutter of trying to manage the unmanageable. For instance, let's say you're planning a big event. You can't control the weather, people's attendance, or last-minute cancellations, but you can control how well you prepare, the backup plans you create, and your mindset going into the event. By directing your energy toward these controllable factors, you reduce unnecessary stress and increase your confidence. Focusing on what you can control also builds resilience. When you make peace with the uncontrollable, you develop a calm, steady mindset. You stop reacting to every twist and turn and start responding with intentionality. This doesn't mean you ignore external circumstances. It means you don't let them dictate your emotions or actions. Let's take another example. Imagine you're dealing with a difficult person at work. Their negativity and criticism are draining your energy. You can't change their attitude, but you can control your response. You can choose to set boundaries, maintain professionalism, and not let their behavior affect your self-worth. Over time, this approach not only protects your peace, but also reinforces your inner strength. The beauty of focusing on what you can control is that it simplifies life. It removes the mental clutter of worrying about things beyond your influence and allows you to take meaningful action. It's a practice that grounds you in the present moment, where your power lies. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This is the essence of control. When you focus on your thoughts, actions, and decisions, you reclaim your agency. You stop being a victim of circumstance and start being the architect of your own life. So the next time fear arises, ask yourself, what's within my control right now? Let go of the rest. Focus on what you can influence and act with purpose. This shift in mindset will not only reduce fear but also empower you to navigate life's challenges with clarity and confidence. Fear may always knock at the door, but when you're grounded in what you can control, it will never dictate your actions. Number 3. Turn fear into a small challenge. Fear often feels like an insurmountable wall, a towering obstacle that blocks the path to progress. But what if we approached it differently? Instead of seeing fear as something to avoid, what if we broke it into smaller, manageable steps? This is where Stoicism shines. By treating fear as a series of small challenges, we not only diminish its power, but also build resilience and confidence along the way. The Stoics believe that discomfort and fear, when faced incrementally, become less intimidating over time. Think of it like climbing a mountain. If you focus only on the summit, the journey can feel overwhelming. But if you take it one step at a time, celebrating each small victory, the climb becomes achievable. This principle applies to almost every fear we face in life. Consider the story of Emily, a teacher in California who had a debilitating fear of public speaking. The thought of standing in front of her peers and students made her palms sweat and her heart race. She avoided any situation where she might have to speak publicly, letting her fear dictate her career. But one day, inspired by the teachings of Epictetus, she decided to confront her fear. Not all at once, but in small, manageable doses. Emily began by speaking in front of just one friend. She rehearsed her lessons in a safe, informal setting, gradually becoming more comfortable. Next, she expanded her audience to a small group of trusted colleagues. Over time, she increased the challenge by speaking in front of her entire department. Each step was a small victory that built her confidence. Months later, Emily gave a presentation at a statewide education conference. What once seemed impossible became a milestone she proudly achieved. The lesson here is simple. Small victories build big confidence. By breaking fear into smaller challenges, you give yourself permission to grow at your own pace. This method not only makes fear less overwhelming, but also transforms it into a motivating force. Instead of dreading failure, you start to look forward to each step of progress. To implement this in your own life, start by identifying a fear that's holding you back. It could be anything: speaking up in meetings, learning a new skill, or even initiating a difficult conversation. Once you've pinpointed the fear, ask yourself, what's one small step I can take today to confront this? For example, if you're afraid of networking, begin by practicing a simple introduction in front of a mirror. Then, try introducing yourself to one new person at a small event. Over time, as your confidence grows, you can challenge yourself to attend larger gatherings and engage in deeper conversations. By turning fear into a series of micro-challenges, you gradually expand your comfort zone without feeling overwhelmed. This technique works because it aligns with how the mind processes fear. When you face a small challenge and succeed, your brain rewards you with a sense of accomplishment. This reinforces the belief that you're capable of handling more. The key is consistency. Facing small challenges regularly trains your mind to see fear as an opportunity rather than a threat. The Stoics often practiced voluntary discomfort to build resilience. While this might involve fasting or exposing themselves to cold, the principle remains the same. Intentionally facing manageable discomfort prepares you for larger challenges. You don't need to dive into the deep end. You just need to take the first step. Let's take another example. Imagine you're afraid of rejection. Whether it's in relationships, job interviews, or creative pursuits, rejection can feel like a crushing blow. Instead of avoiding situations where rejection is possible, create small challenges to face. Send a bold email. Ask a question in a crowded room. Each small risk makes the next one easier, and soon, rejection loses its sting. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. By turning fear into a challenge, you reclaim that power. Each step you take, no matter how small, is a victory over the fear that once held you back. So the next time fear grips you, don't try to conquer it all at once. Break it down. Face it piece by piece. Celebrate each win, no matter how small, and watch as fear transforms into courage. The journey may start small, but its impact will echo throughout your life. Number 4. Reflect on past fears. Fear often feels overwhelming in the present. It grips us, clouds our judgment, and convinces us that we're facing an impossible challenge. But one of the most effective ways to manage fear is surprisingly simple. Reflect on the fears you've faced before. The Stoics, particularly Marcus Aurelius, emphasized the value of looking back to gain strength from past experiences. He said, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. By reflecting on past fears, we learn that we've overcome more than we realize, and that we can do it again. Take a moment and think about the last time you were truly afraid. Maybe it was a big presentation at work, a difficult conversation, or a life-changing decision. At the time, the fear likely felt all-consuming. But here's the truth. You're still here. You survived. And chances are, the outcome wasn't as catastrophic as you imagined. Reflecting on these moments reminds us that fear often exaggerates reality. Let me share a story. David, a young entrepreneur in Texas, once had a crippling fear of pitching his business idea to investors. The stakes felt impossibly high. If he failed, he thought his dream would crumble. On the morning of his first pitch, David could barely eat or think straight. But after the presentation, he realized something profound. While his pitch wasn't perfect, the investors appreciated his effort and offered feedback to improve. David survived. Fast forward 2 years. David now regularly pitches his ideas to investors, clients, and partners. Whenever he feels fear creeping in, he reflects on that first presentation. He remembers how nervous he was and how he overcame it. That memory gives him the confidence to face new challenges, knowing he's done it before and can do it again. So how can you apply this Stoic principle in your life? Start by creating a fear reflection journal. Dedicate a few pages to each fear you faced in the past. Write down the situation in detail. What you feared would happen, what actually happened, and what you learned. Over time, this journal will become a powerful tool, reminding you of your resilience and growth. For example, let's say you once feared confronting a coworker about an issue. At the time, you imagined the worst. They'd react angrily, escalate the problem, or even damage your reputation. But when you look back, you realize the conversation was productive and the issue was resolved peacefully. Writing this down not only helps you process the event, but also gives you a resource to revisit when similar fears arise. This practice works because it shifts your focus from the overwhelming present to the lessons of the past. Fear thrives on uncertainty, but your past experiences prove that you're more capable than you think. Reflecting on those victories, big or small, reminds you that fear is temporary, and courage is a skill you've already developed. Another benefit of reflecting on past fears is that it helps you identify patterns. Maybe you tend to overestimate the likelihood of negative outcomes. Or perhaps you've noticed that fear often drives you to overprepare, which ironically becomes a strength. Recognizing these patterns allows you to approach future challenges with greater self-awareness and strategy. But let's be clear. Reflecting on past fears isn't about romanticizing struggle or ignoring the reality of difficulty. It's about perspective. When you remind yourself of what you've overcome, you gain a deeper appreciation for your inner strength and resourcefulness. You stop seeing fear as a roadblock and start viewing it as an opportunity to grow. Marcus Aurelius also taught us to look back on the past with its changing empires that rose and fell, and you can foresee the future too. The past is a guide, not just to history, but to your own resilience. Each fear you've faced is proof that you are stronger than the uncertainty that lies ahead. So the next time fear takes hold, take a moment to pause. Reflect on the fears you've conquered. Write them down. Celebrate the growth you've achieved. And then remind yourself, you've been through fear before, and you'll get through it again. It's not just about surviving, it's about thriving, with the wisdom of your past lighting the way forward. Number 5. Live with purpose. Fear loses much of its power when you live with purpose. A clear sense of direction gives you the strength to face challenges and the courage to overcome setbacks. The Stoics, especially Marcus Aurelius, emphasized living in alignment with your values and focusing on what truly matters. He wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This is a reminder that when your actions align with your purpose, fear becomes a background noise, not a defining force. Purpose serves as a compass in the stormy seas of life. Without it, fear thrives in uncertainty. But when you know what you're working toward, your goals act as a guiding light, cutting through the fog of doubt. Consider this. Why do people endure grueling challenges like running marathons or starting businesses? It's because their purpose outweighs their fear. This principle applies to every aspect of life. Let me share a story. Linda, a mother of 3 in Florida, felt trapped by fear when her youngest child was diagnosed with a learning disability. She worried about the future, her ability to provide, and what others might think. For months, fear paralyzed her, but one evening, she sat down and asked herself a life-changing question. What do I truly want for my children? The answer was simple. She wanted them to grow into resilient, independent individuals who could face life's challenges with confidence. That purpose became Linda's anchor. Instead of letting fear consume her, she started researching resources for her child, joining support groups, and advocating for better education. Her purpose didn't eliminate her fear, but it gave her the strength to act despite it. Today, her child is thriving, and Linda feels a deep sense of fulfillment knowing she stayed true to her values. Living with purpose doesn't mean you won't feel fear. It means fear won't control you. When your actions align with what you value most, fear becomes a secondary concern. It's like climbing a mountain. Each step might be daunting, but the vision of reaching the summit keeps you moving forward. To identify your purpose, start by reflecting on your core values. What truly matters to you? Is it family, personal growth, contributing to society, or creating something meaningful? Write these values down. Then, think about how you can incorporate them into your daily life. For example, if one of your values is kindness, make it a point to show compassion in your interactions. If it's self-improvement, commit to learning something new every day. This exercise helps clarify your purpose, but it's also important to revisit it regularly. Life has a way of distracting us, and fear often creeps in when we lose sight of what's important. By keeping your purpose at the forefront of your mind, you stay grounded, even in the face of uncertainty. Another way to strengthen your purpose is by creating a personal mission statement. This can be a short, powerful reminder of your values and goals. For example, I aim to live authentically, inspire others, and contribute to a better world. Keep this statement visible on your desk, phone, or even as a screensaver. Whenever fear arises, return to your mission. It will remind you why you're on this path and give you the courage to keep going. Living with purpose also means embracing the challenges that come with it. The Stoics believed that obstacles are opportunities for growth. As Seneca wrote, difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. When you have a purpose, you see challenges not as threats, but as stepping stones. Each difficulty you overcome reinforces your commitment to your values and builds your resilience. For instance, imagine you're starting a new business, but fear of failure holds you back. If your purpose is to create a product that improves people's lives, let that goal drive you. Accept that failure might happen, but remind yourself why you started in the first place. Purpose gives meaning to every setback and transforms fear into determination. Finally, remember that purpose isn't about perfection. It's about progress. The Stoics understood that life is unpredictable and that we can't control everything. What we can control is our dedication to what matters. When you live with purpose, you align your actions with your deepest values. This alignment creates a sense of fulfillment that no fear can take away. So ask yourself, what do I stand for? What legacy do I want to leave? Write it down. Reflect on it. Live it. When your life is guided by purpose, you'll find a well of courage that fear cannot diminish. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Live boldly. Live with purpose. Let it be your guiding light, even in the darkest moments. Fear will come and go, but a life lived with meaning is unshakable. Fear is a natural part of life, but it doesn't have to control you. By applying the 5 Stoic strategies we explored today, you can transform fear into a stepping stone toward courage and growth. Whether you embrace the worst-case scenario, focus on what you can control, break fear into small challenges, reflect on past victories, or live with purpose, each step brings you closer to mastering fear and reclaiming your inner strength. Remember, as Marcus Aurelius said, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Fear isn't your enemy. It's an opportunity to rise above doubt and act with clarity. If this video inspired you, please like this video and subscribe to Stoic Narratives Official for more practical wisdom to help you overcome life's challenges. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss new insights into building resilience and emotional strength. Thank you for watching. Stay strong, stay resilient, and most importantly, stay stoic.